Five-star defensive lineman Iose Epenesa makes his visit. The freshman arrived. We got a lot of Hawkeye football talk. Plus, Tom Kakert joins us from HawkeyeReport.com. Plus, women's basketball. Ava Jones retires. Caitlin Clark discourse, of course, goes to another level. Oh boy. All today, Locked On Hawkeye.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes Podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts, and you can also find us on YouTube. While you're there, hit that subscribe button. Just takes you a moment and helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Well, we got quick hitters here to kick things off. We have so much going on. We will be back with you throughout the course of this week, each and every day. A lot of these topics we're going to be digging in a little bit deeper, but quick hits for you to kick off the week. So much happening in the world of Hawkeye athletics and just the way that it is. We have to, love the program and what we get out of them. And just the storylines that are out there, all the different vantage points that we can go throughout the course of this football team, basketball team, baseball. There's news potentially on the horizon with a new pitching coach and a whole lot more. But we open things up here first with the weekend visit for five-star defensive lineman Iose Epenesa, the youngest Epenesa of the clan, young man that as a youngster was talked about a lot. Of course, we saw AJ and what he was and what an incredible player he was for the Hawkeyes, going on to be a second-round pick to the Buffalo Bills, and has put together a very nice career to this point in time. But there are many people that would tell you that watch out for this youngster. He's going to be the one that maybe even could be better. Now, you're putting a lot certainly on him, and it's not going to be a foregone conclusion that he is going to be a Hawkeye. As a youngster, a lot of people believe that it was going to be as simple as he's going to make his commitment to Iowa because that's what Dad played here. Repeat, as Hayden used to call him, Epenesa, and of course, older brother, and that this was just going to happen. Not the case. There are plenty of programs out there that are vying for his services. Sounded like his visit to Missouri the week before went incredibly well. And then, of course, this past weekend to Iowa. So he did not take the visit over the weekend that normally we see some of the big prospects. That's coming up here still in a couple of weeks. The reason, he's got some other things going on, other recruiting that is happening, and this is the one that worked best for his schedule. Now, from what I've heard, Iowa rolled out the red carpet for him. And it's a crazy weekend. I mean, you got camp season going on. There's a lot happening there. Not only that, the freshmen are also arriving this weekend on campus. So you had that angle to it as well. But Iowa continues to put their best foot forward. This is going to be one that I think is going to bear watching. But from everything that I've heard, Iowa has done all the right things. We know, obviously, what the family thinks of the University of Iowa and the Hawkeye football program. So many good things that come out of that. So we'll see on that front. But you get a guy, yes, he's got the pedigree. Yes, he's got the bloodlines that point to Iowa City, but this does not seem like a done deal, at least this time. Impactful defensive end, the kind of guys that Iowa just doesn't get very often. They can make them, they can build them, but the Adrian Claibornes, the AJ Epenesas, those kind of guys that are ready-made, if you will, don't come off the conveyor belt very early. I'm incredibly excited, as we've talked about in the past, of this incoming class of defensive linemen, and especially the defensive ends that they have. I think there's a ton of there. We'll talk more about that and after we hear a little bit more from an Epenesa after his visits from some of the recruiting sites from 24/7 and Sean Bach and David Eicholt over there, Tom Kakert, Blair Sanderson and company over at Hawkeye Report, those kind of places. When we get a little more information on that front, certainly we'll pass that along to you. Other quick hits, other football news and notes that we're going to make our way through. Speaking of recruiting, down the line a little bit, but another Dejean. That's right, Cooper's little brother. Speaking of little brothers, Jaxx Dejean has picked up an offer from the University of Iowa. Now, most people believe that it's going to be a foregone conclusion on this one. Maybe not the case with Iose Epenesa, but Jaxx Dejean probably going to be making a commitment to Iowa very, very quickly. We'll see on that front You never know, but that's where the signs point. And still, another Dejean, yeah, got big shoes to fill. As Iose would have big shoes to fill for AJ. However, that one, yeah, you sign up for that, right? After the 3 years that we got to see from Cooper Dejean, what he turned himself into, just an incredible player. And we'll see on that front as well. Football recruiting is continue to heat up. We're going to have a lot going on that front. We'll be talking a ton about it as well. Everything that is happening in the world of recruiting, we'll get you covered here. Your team every day on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, and we will continue down that road. A couple other things. Mentioned the freshmen arriving on campus this week. Everybody making their way to Iowa City. Early enrollees was a very small number this season, something that was a bit of a change of what we've seen in the past. Now, we know Kirk Ferentz, he has mentioned this many times in the past. He wants his guys to go through the whole high school experience. He knows what it's like once you get to Iowa City and the amount of investment and the amount of work that you have to put in to become a Big Ten football player and to play at the University of Iowa. It's not easy. And when you're doing it, you miss a lot of things. And because of that, he has always pointed to, I want those guys to go through it. Now, there's certain circumstances where guys want to arrive early. They've already made that decision even before they make commitments to Iowa. We've seen that, but this class, very small in comparison. So guys are making their way to campus. My guy, Brevin Doll, I told you in the past, Brevin was on the show last year after he made his commitment. You can go back and catch that in the archives here of Locked On Hawkeyes, and always great stuff out of Brev. Knew the family growing up. His mom was one of my best friends growing up. His dad, a couple years older than me in Osage, and played basketball with him. Had a lot of good times with dad as well. And they mentioned that he's going to wear number 23. And you say, number 23, where does my mind go? Well, of course, it goes to Sean Green. And then you also remember that Brevin Doll was, let's see, like 2 when he was playing his final season in Iowa City. Probably not that. Well, the reason for it is number 15 is what he wore in high school, but more of a running back number, 23. But the biggest thing is his favorite football player is Christian McCaffrey, who wears number 23. We know Christian McCaffrey. Unfortunately, for all us Hawkeye fans, we know about his exploits with the Stanford Cardinal in the Rose Bowl, and that was a long, long day inside the Rose Bowl, January 1st, 2016. However, 23, his speed, we've talked about him a bunch. He bears mentioning. And will there be a spot this year? One of the deepest running back rooms that I was had in a really long time with the 5 returning starters from guys that saw playing time a year ago coming in. But with that kind of speed, is there something you can put in? Do you work him in that slot role that they've kind of carved out for Terrell Washington? Is that something that they do? Is it a kick returner? Is that a route that they go? Opportunity's going to be there, going to be fun, and we'll talk more about these freshmen and a little bit about their opportunities and where you can see a path. When you return 19 starters from a year ago, as Iowa football does, it's difficult to find those spots, but we'll try to find them, and we'll do that here throughout the summer months. As we continue here, Locked On Hawkeyes, we continue the conversation. A lot happening in the world of Hawkeyes, and one of my favorite people to talk to is Tom Kakert from HawkeyeReport.com. We'll talk to Tom a little bit about a little of everything. Bouncing around here, it's a quick hits edition of Locked On Hawkeyes to kick off your week. Stay right there as we continue in a moment. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Personally, I'm a small business owner. Finding those right candidates, it's time consuming, it's frustrating. Not the case with LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So you're not looking in LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that you small business owners, you're wearing so many hats, you have so much on the table, you might not have the time or the resources to make that hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process even easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Kakert joins us talking Hawks. Hello, Tom Kakert. How are you?
I'm good. Does it feel weird that you can fire on games way earlier than ever before now? I mean, they've got lines up for basically almost all the college football games that I mean, at least the first few weeks. I mean, I saw the Cyhawk lines up, and that's crazy.
Yep, and if one does it, they all got to do it because you can download multiple apps in your state, and away you go. Tom, let's start with Ava Jones. I thought that, look, obviously it's an incredibly tragic story. Her life at this point, how it changed on that eventful walk, I guess, in Louisville. But just being around the team had to do a whole lot for her. Not physical recovery, but I would think her mental recovery. And I don't want to get too deep, and because this is over the tips of my skis. But being around something she loved, being around teammates to help her get through this, I thought that was a wonderful gesture by the University of Iowa to keep her on scholarship, make her a part of the team. She's now walking away because of medical reasons, keeping her scholarship. She'll graduate from Iowa, but in a time of need, the Hawkeye women's basketball program was there for her.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll still continue to be there for her, and I'm sure they'll still make her feel like she's part of the team. But and I think just for herself, she needed to kind of, finish this up at least, and make an effort to think that she could get back and play at some point. And I think she came to the realization that wasn't going to happen, and it opens up scholarship now too for Coach Jensen and her maiden voyage as the Iowa coach to perhaps use that. I don't think they'll use it this year, at least heading into this season. I would think that's highly unlikely, but it gives them something moving forward, an open scholarship to use in the 2025 class.
Good thing to see her still on campus. And, I talked to a number of people before the likelihood that she was ever going to be able to get back, even not to even compete at this kind of level, but even just to be out there and be even a help at practice, which is so incredibly slim. And there's still good things that are going to come out of this, and a story that there are so many different layers to. What about this Iowa women's basketball team going into next year? We get all after the Final Four on the men's side, everybody's way too early, top 25 and the like. What do you think this Iowa women's basketball team is going to be preseason pub-wise going into next season?
Great question. I think, had they not gotten Lucy Olson, I think they were probably middle of the pack team. Now, I think her abilities to score and, talk about somebody who's no pressure, right? You're taking, essentially taking 22 spot, trying to lead the team, run the team, and score. So, but it tells me a lot about her confidence that she's have not shied away from it, and also tells me a lot about her character. That when Lisa Bluter decides to retire, that she doesn't just throw herself back in the portal and look for another place, because I'm sure there were suitors that were lining up at the door with bags of cash in hand, looking to try and get her to come their direction. So I think this team's got a chance to finish, top 4 in the Big Ten. Probably the Big Ten is going to be pretty tough next year, as it is almost every year anymore. So I think top 4's realistic possibility for Iowa.
Since we're talking hoops, let's go to the men. With the additions that McCaffrey's pulled together, Trent and I both feel that this is, we certainly didn't feel like this a couple of months ago, that this was a team that's going to flirt with the NCAA tournament. I think they're very much in the conversation, Tom.
I think they're a bubble team. I think they're going to go in as a bubble team next year. Now, it's going to depend on a couple things. how good's the point guard they're bringing in, and how can he mix with Brock Harding and kind of give them, steadier point guard play. As good as Tony was last year, Tony wasn't a point guard. Just never it's kind of fitting a square peg in a round hole. I think obviously getting Peyton Sandford back changes the dynamic. But then the next two key developments for this, actually there's probably, I guess it's three, but Owen Freeman developing an outside shot, which I know he's working on daily. And if he can do that and knock down, I'm not even saying threes, but 15-footers, boy, that just expands his game immensely. And then kind of the development of Josh Dix as an alpha and the development of Price Sandford as another scoring option. I think if those three things happen, then, boy, Iowa's a pretty entertaining team. And I know, talking to some people close to the program, they think they could be a top 5 team in the Big Ten next year with what they have.
Wow. 18-team league. That's a pretty big step up. Now, they've been consistently in that upper half and had those teams, certainly. That is going to be one to keep an eye on. It's been quiet on the football front. Now, of course, they're not practicing. We got guys making their way to campus coming up this weekend, and all the freshmen will be reporting and getting ready to go through some summer classes and the like. What are your thoughts? We saw coaches on the defense went to see the Ravens. We saw the offense going to see the Packers here, but it's been relatively quiet. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it has been quiet, and I think Kirk Ferentz probably loves that it's been quiet, just because less attention. I think it's interesting that there's always been kind of this synergy between the Hawkeyes and the Packers programs, even going back many years ago when Trent can verify this because as a fellow Bears fan, he was frustrated with them seeing all the Iowa players go to play up in Green Bay and do well. But there's kind of always been a synergy there, and it seems like now offensively with Tim Lester, it's going to be even more like that West Coast Shanahan type offense. And I'm really interested to see what that offense looks like. And I really do think that that first game they're going to put a number up on poor Illinois State. It's just going to have to wear one, I think, in that game. They're going to try and do something big there. But in defense, we know that Phil Parker's unit's going to be solid. So I'm really interested in this team and just to see how good they can be, because the more you look at that schedule for Iowa, the more it just, and I have some people in my life that sprinkled a little bit on Iowa college football playoff.
Mm-hmm. It's not without the realm of possibility. I'm with you.
It really isn't. I mean, it's certainly possible that they could, finish, 10-2,
Mm-hmm.
and you're in the conversation.
Yep, at that point they would be. Tom, I think I saw it from you. You retweeted. I want to say it was you. If it wasn't, I'm giving you credit for something you didn't do. But you brought up Tim Lester. You're welcome. And then it leads me to Paul Christ, who is no longer in Texas.
Yeah.
Which was kind of shocking,
Wow.
right? How serious were the conference? Did it ever get close to Paul Christ? Because there was a lot of speculation that he was the guy, right? He was going to be the offensive coordinator. They both great deal of respect between Christ and Kirk Ferentz. Do you think it got close at all, Tom? Any point?
I'll use a Kirk Ferentz analogy. I don't think they got to the altar, but I think they were dating each other pretty heavily.
Yep.
I think at some point, if that analogy kind of makes sense, I think but I think they got close to the altar. I think they talked about it, but in the end, it didn't happen. And it's just weird now that then he would, because maybe one of the hangups was not wanting to move again, and now you're out at Texas, and I don't know if that was Sark's doing, or if that's Paul Christ just saying, I don't want to do this. And it's weird. Then I saw some pictures of him up in Green Bay, ironically, maybe around the same time but the Texas coaches were up there. It's like everybody was going up to Green Bay apparently this year if you're an offensive coach to study what they're doing up there.
Going to be a fun off season. Still a lot in front, and a big weekend on the recruiting front for the football program as another Epenesa is in town. Fill us in. I know you know Epi incredibly well from back in the day.
Yeah.
The details of Iose making his way to campus.
Yeah, Iose Epenesa. I don't know if I've shared this story with you guys before, but back when AJ had committed and they were doing one of those Legends camps up in Iowa City, and I went up there, and I was talking to Epi, and young Iose was over there, and he goes, "Tom, he's got bigger feet than AJ, and he's bigger than AJ at the same age." And I was like, "Okay, what are you telling me here, Epi?"
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty good. And he was over there with like 5-year-olds playing or something. I don't know. It was like, so long ago. Just aging myself here on air. But now you look at him and I saw him last year at the game and AJ was there. And, he's bigger than AJ. He's just a big kid. But this one isn't a slam dunk. And I think NIL is going to play a role. As it does. I mean, if it were back in the day with when AJ was recruited, he'd probably be committed to Iowa because they just wouldn't have even thought about taking something under the table or anything. But now that NIL is here, and you look at the schools that are recruiting him and recruiting him well, it's Mizzou, Miami, schools like that, and they play in that space pretty well. So, and Mizzou is frankly closer to home for them, in Edwardsville. So, but I think we'll get a better feel after this weekend. But I just think at the end of the day, boy, I just can't see an Epenesa putting on another anything other than an Iowa jersey. Just I don't think Epi can see that, but we'll see what happens this weekend and see how that visit goes. But I don't think, but I'm sure there's schools that are throwing bags of money. I mean, I saw some of those videos and they're putting Iose in a Rolls Royce or something.
Oh my God.
Down on the field at Mizzou. Yeah. I mean, they're bringing in all these, that's the new thing now. They bring in these fancy cars and let the kids sit in them and kind of feel what it's like to be in these high roller cars.
Unbelievable. When will he make his decision, Tom? Any timetable?
He's still got some more visits left, so I don't think we're looking until maybe July. I don't think he wants to linger into his season.
Gotcha. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, part of On3 Media. Tom, obviously we'll have that covered. What else you got coming up that you'd like to share? Anything?
Yeah, just the usual stuff this time of year. Obviously camps going on, so we're catching up with a few different guys and those sorts of things. So yeah, it's always busy, and of course we're always keeping track of the Indiana Fever these days.
Yeah, so, they get a win tonight.
Hey, that's keeping you guys getting some good topics out of the Caitlin.
Wish there were more wins, right? but certainly love the content, no doubt. It's this time of year. It's all about killing segments.
It
absolutely is.
We're honest about it. Honest about it.
Yep, no doubt. Tom, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you in 7 days. Thanks, Tom Kakert.
You too.
Yep,
thanks,
see you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, part of On3 Media. We'll take.
Always great stuff there out of Tom Kakert. Big thank you to him joining us here on the program as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. A little more football for you. Well, some more quick hits as we bounce around on a busy week in Hawkeye athletics. We continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use on everything, from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the yard in baseball. They have you covered on FanDuel. There's also already odds up for a number of Iowa games, including the Iowa matchup against Iowa State. Futures. Well, Tom Kakert mentioned it. The Hawkeyes to make the college football playoff. Yes, you can find that and a whole lot more. Futures on the FanDuel Sportsbook, and college football is ready to roll. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon with the $200 for new customers in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. So Tom mentioned there at the end the discourse, and we will talk about this more in depth here later in the week. But what's happening right now with Caitlin Clark? And over the weekend, we get the report that she has not made the Olympic basketball team, and the back and forth, just some of the ugliness. There's pettiness, there's jealousy. All those things are definitely happening inside the NBA, but away from the court. What you're seeing from people and this culture war that continues over a young woman that's just trying to play basketball. Team's not very good. Found a way to get a win on Friday night against Washington as the Mystics ran the record to 0 and whatever it was at that point. Indiana's not very good, but Caitlin Clark, the way she responds, the way that she reacts, the way that she has everything teed up, she's a pro at this. She absolutely is. And there are so many times that it feels like they're looking for that gotcha moment. They're looking for the time that they're going to be able to trip her up, and it just doesn't happen. And it's incredible to watch from the outside. Hope for some more wins. Hope this Indiana team can get healthy and get better. Maybe make a push for the playoffs. That might be too much, and certainly looks to be the case. Watching bits and parts and full games many times throughout the course of the season, I will definitely tell you the most WNBA I've ever watched in my life has come over the course of the first 11 games of her career. And not just that, I'm watching a lot more WNBA when even Caitlin is not involved or Kate Martin's not involved. And Megan Gustafson with the Aces, just watching it a whole lot more. They have an opportunity here, this league as a whole. And you just wonder, the negativity, how many people is it going to turn off? We talked about Ava Jones with Tom Kakert, and it's devastating. Down at the Final Four 2 years ago in Dallas, my daughter and a couple of our friends' daughters went over and got a picture with her. Just a story of inspiration, a story of trying to find any kind of glimmer of hope in some of the darkest times. Ava Jones came here still with the hope that she was going to be able to play. And people inside the program knew there was going to be an incredible long shot. And though she won't be in an official capacity able to put on a Hawkeye uniform, with this medical retirement, her collegiate career is over. She still has an opportunity to earn a degree, still has an opportunity to be a part of this basketball program, just not as a player. And she's an easy one to root for. To lose a family member, to lose the sport that you love, it's incredibly impactful and so sad for her. And yet you can see those silver linings and those small steps that she takes in her way back, all those different things. You certainly hope that Ava Jones is able to find peace and that this accident is not going to be her story. It'll be a piece of it. It'll be a chapter, but just that there's going to be more. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're with you each and every day this week, back on regular schedule this week. We got a ton going on. We haven't talked about Jackson Stratton, the new quarterback in the quarterback room. Tim Lester, he's doing some work in there. Definitely trying to find some things. We'll talk more about Caitlin Clark not making the Olympic basketball team, the discourse, as we mentioned, that's happening in the WNBA and some of the ugliness that is happening there. We'll try to bring a little brevity to a situation that can at times be incredibly toxic inside that league. We got that going on. We got the offseason of football. We'll talk about those freshmen that arrived on campus. It's a big recruiting time for Iowa football. Don't worry, we got you covered. Your team every day here on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Go Hawks.